Another beautiful day here in the capital city of Ogun. Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM, Citizens Forum this morning. Right there, like that song is saying, is important. Well, this time around, it's not
It's not
just
the parents.
it's not
Yeah,
yes,
this is ASUU.
it's not just the parents, it's the teachers, it's ASUU. But don't let us just come to a conclusion. Maybe we should also add its government.
Government.
So it takes two to tango,
Tango.
really,
Yeah.
and particularly when you look at the history where we are coming from, it's not a new thing. Um, Many of the students have gone comical when you check so many uh, write-up postings in the paper saying it's an Olympic thing. The ASUU strike is an annual Olympic every
Every
4 years.
4 years.
At least you can confirm that the last three quarter year has been strike, strike, strike. So maybe they are right. Maybe this will be the final Olympic or the last Olympic, or we also have to suspend it and wait for 2021
21.
for another Olympic. All right, yes, that gives you an insight into what we will be looking at this morning. It's unfortunate, it's not pleasant that many of these students will have to be forced to stay home and find something to do indefinitely as it is. The situation as we speak is that there's no movement right now, no movement at all, which means it's ground zero. Nothing. All right, we have somebody who is in it who will tell us exactly where we are. Yes, he will remind us what the situation and why should it be strike? Don't we have other options for us to get this solved? Professor Sowande, our guest, is the zonal coordinator for the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian University. Professor Sowande, good morning and welcome to
Good
the
morning, Dele.
Daybreak Show again.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, Nigerians.
All right, Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu saying good morning. And quickly, let's refresh in our memory. The ASUU strike was embarked upon on August 13, 2017, after the Emergency National Executive Council meeting that was held on August 12, 2017. And the strike, they said, was as a result of the failure of government to fulfill the 2009 agreement that was reached with the union. And then some of those agreements that we had years back, we had agreements with federal government in 2009, and then the signing of an MOU in 2013. And the reports that were submitted by the national president of the organization, the issues that were considered included the delay in payment of wages and academic benefits, the lack of licenses for the activities of NUPEMCO, that's the National Union for Pension Management, and then the salary of retired teachers, the schools for training of current staff, and then means for the revitalization of public educational establishments. All these were issues that were raised then, and then those are things they are fighting back now.
All right, Professor Ande, you listen to her. Is there anything first that you want to add or remove from all those things you people are agitating over?
Well, let me say that she has actually captured everything. The issues that warranted the strike are actually issues emanating from the 2009 agreement, and those key issues are outstanding, and we have been on the neck of government for a long time. Unfortunately, government does not seem to reckon with our agitation, even with the 1 week warning strike. We thought that with that strike we will be able to achieve a consensus in which everybody will do his own part and won't have any reason to go on strike. But unfortunately, all the promises made at that time were not fulfilled. So we were compelled, even though very painfully, to embark on another strike.
But that strike was impromptu. Like the Minister of Labor said, he said there was no prior notice to that. You didn't even give them the 15 days ultimatum to that strike. It was impromptu and it didn't follow due process. Why did that happen?
Well, let me say that the Minister of Education and Minister of Labour and Productivity is not correct. Don't forget that in 2013, what we actually did was to suspend the strike. It is only when you are starting, you are you are you are agitated on a fresh issue. That is when you give normal notice. The suspension of the strike was premised on some promises. You remember that we have MOU, which made us to say, okay, let's give government benefit of doubt. To the extent that we suspended the strike, we didn't call it off. So it's not a fresh agitation. It is only when you have fresh agitation that you give fresh notice of 15 days. And even at that, there have been communications showing our displeasure at the lackluster attitude of government in respect of our agitation and the promises made. So, one, it is not a fresh agitation, so we don't need 15 days notice. It was a suspended strike that was taken up. Two, there are correspondences showing our displeasure as to non-fulfillment of government's promises related to even the MOU and the 1 week warning strike, where we have further promises. So I think that is a clarification.
Okay, part of this agitations also includes the 15 billion naira you people are calling for. And then, if I remember vividly, the federal government said they were able to meet up with 30 billion naira, which ASUU cannot account for. And that is why they cannot be able to pay the remaining 23 billion naira. What do you have to say concerning this?
Well, let me just say that it's part of government's propaganda. ASUU does not receive
Okay,
money
so who is
from
lying here?
anybody. The money that was released to the university's governing council. So, is it ASUU that should account for it? It is the governing council that should account for it. That is just the truth. The money was not released to ASUU. It was released to various governing councils, and there are letters to indicate the quantum of money allocated to each university governing council. The letter did not even go to the VC. It went to the governing council. So the money was not, it's a propaganda that ASUU received 30 billion naira. It's not true.
Okay. Oh, what? How much exactly have you been given so
ASUU has
far?
not been given any money.
And then, if you do an arithmetic of the figure you people need, the report out there is that it's about 800 billion naira. Is that so?
Well, I think there are a lot of confusions out there. We are mixing up issues. There are issues of non-academic allowances. Up till 2000 and 2013, the outstanding was 128 billion. But there is other fund that is meant for the revitalization of the university system. That is what we call the needs assessment implementation fund, intervention fund. That is the memorandum of understanding that we had in 2013 was to the extent that from 2013, government will release 200 billion to the universities, not to ASUU. Please, I want you to know that, to the university. And subsequently for the remaining 5 years, that is up to 2018, 220 billion naira will be released to the university to make the universities world class and upgrade facilities and research facilities. So if you now count from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, if you multiply 220 by 4, that is 880 billion that we're talking about.
So it's 880 you people are expecting for government to plan. Now, one of the concerns, there are so many of them really, but one of the ones people have, have expressed is that if you have this same strike action, you took the same step 2009, suspended, no result, 2013 resumed, suspended again because there was no result. This is the third time that is happening, and then we are into another strike. That, as researchers, as people in the academics, why don't you change strategy? Why is it that it is the same strike action that has not given you anything that you are still using?
Well, I think there is a misconception here that maybe ASUU enjoy going on strike, or that ASUU is not getting results for its strike action. Let me say that, the strategy of government is that when you have an agreement with government always think that what is important to us is only the salary component. Let me refresh your mind. In 2009, when the agreement was signed, the first part of it that was implemented was the aspect of salary. Even that aspect of salary was not implemented fully, but we are not raising issue about that. And the expectation is that with that commitment, starting with the salary and some other things, government will continue to fulfill his own part of the agreement. But we found out that it was actually a game plan, that these people, what they really wanted is salary and all those things. But we have shown over the years that it is not the salary that is most important to us, it is the university system. So when we have the memorandum of understanding in 2013, government say okay, let's pay academic allowances, and government committed itself to 200 billion naira for the revitalization of university, which is enough evidence that government is now serious. So on the basis of that, you want to show understanding that government is committed, that there is money for revitalization, hoping that the following year government will do the same. But unfortunately, since that time, government has not released any money. Now imagine what the university will be if government had been pumping that kind of money into the university system, public universities in Nigeria. You can imagine, if you go to universities now, you will see the impact of the little amount that was released. And imagine how it would have been if government had been consistent in releasing that quantum of money to the university for its revitalization. Then we will have some of Nigerian universities listed as one of the best universities in Nigeria, in the world. But the truth of the matter is that even if you go at the university world ranking, you find out that no Nigerian university is listed. And you have up to 5 universities in South Africa. You have universities in Tanzania, universities in Kenya, those small countries that do not have the resources that Nigeria has. So the agitation, when we suspend strike, we consider the plight of the students, we consider the plea of the parents. We don't want to be seen that, we don't like the system, we just want it to crumble. That is why we suspend. Otherwise, if we want to really uh, by this this comment that people are making, say okay, until everything is done we won't come, then we can be there for 2 years, we don't mind. But what will be the fate of those students?
Okay, from that 2009, apart from the salary issue, what are the things that has been achieved by this strike action?
Well, let me say that one, we have the commencement of the implementation of the uh, revitalization of university system, which has been stopped. Two, the condition of service as at then.
Sorry, I don't understand what is revitalization of
No,
university
in our agreement, there is a component of funding in 2009, where we said the university system, the public university, after the MOU of 2013, said the public university would need 1.3 trillion to upgrade facilities and make it standard, to the extent that we can classify some of our universities as world class. So government started the implementation by releasing 200 billion naira in 2013. That is the second one. We also have the release of a component.
Is government still doing that?
Government is not doing it. That is the basis for agitation.
Okay.
If government has been consistent, we won't need to go on strike. And maybe one of those things that we should also be able to stress here is that people are saying, are there alternatives to strike? That we wouldn't have need to go on strike if government has been faithful, because you have an agreement and you are implementing it faithfully. You get to a point there is problem, we expected that you call the stakeholder, at this point we have problem, can we adjust, and then agree and forge ahead. But government does not do that kind of thing. It is only when you have agitated and you go to the point of strike that government will listen. Then we should ask ourselves, because some of these things that people are talking about, is there alternative to strike? I always maintain
please
that
answer that question.
there will not be alternative to strike if government continue to with this attitude. There won't be alternative. My submission is that, look, we can afford strike. For example, people will not just go on strike without saying, this is our agitation. Our expectation is that government will quickly look into it and say, this one we can do, this one we cannot do, but this is what we can do for you. There will be an agreement, you move forward. You won't need to go on strike. But if government say, oh, let's just please them, is it talk that they want to talk? Oh, let's talk. Is it to put pen on paper? Let's do it. Is it to sign it? Let's sign it. Then we'll keep it there. You will not, there's no way you will not go on strike when somebody has already given you an agreement and then they fails to do it. It's the same thing. We are just, it's because we are thinking that it's because it's a union. Even among individuals, somebody promises you, oh, you are owing him money, and they say, oh, I will give you tomorrow. Okay, it doesn't give you, you give him benefit of doubt, you go, and at a point you have to say, no, I'm not doing
Is
it.
there any particular reason why you have to wait for 4 years before reacting to the inability of government meeting the MOU?
Let me just say that it's just coincidence that the thing is 4 years. It's just to show you the level of patience we have had before we have to go on strike. Ordinarily, if you say you are going to release 220 billion in 2014, and by mid of 2014 it's not released, you know the next thing we are going to go on strike. But we have been patient. We didn't go on strike in 2014. We didn't go on strike. Another tranche is supposed to come in 2015. You didn't go on strike, hoping that, oh, government will do it, government will do it. And when you are stretched to your limit and you know that the only thing we should ask ourselves, why is it that when we go on strike, that is when government calls us and say, let us talk.
Okay, let me take you back to what you said earlier. You said none of our universities fall under a world-class category. And then what are those things that are lacking in public universities that will make it a world-class institution?
Now
If we need to pump funds into the public universities.
now let me say this. Some of us, we have been to universities outside Nigeria. We have been to universities in Europe. And when we get there, we say, we can do this one also in Nigeria. For example, we believe that our students, the kind of comfort that students in developed countries have when they are in class. Like I'm sitting here now, I'm sitting on a very comfortable chair. Our students should also be able to sit on comfortable chairs. They should be able to access internet, access library, even from their various hostels. Those ones are not here. Then our research facilities, our equipment are obsolete.
You shouldn't forget that the volume we have in Nigeria is different from the volume we have over there.
Volume as in?
The number of students.
Number of students. Well, until you have empirical data in respect of that.
No, that should be straightforward.
No,
you can basically just Google at the population of the population of youth in Nigeria, population of in those countries, then you will be able to know.
It's not okay. What about China, for example? Because you have to have empirical data before we make some of these analysis. China is more populous than Nigeria, and then the number of universities in China is far more than what we have in Nigeria. And then they have world-class university. We have Nobel laureate in China. What are we talking about?
Professor Chowande, that takes me to another worry Nigerians have expressed. When you say number of universities and then what we call the carrying capacity of those universities. Between 2009 and today, public universities have almost doubled. And then there's none of these universities that are regarded as fake or the ones not approved. They are all approved by an agency of the federal government, you see, which many of you are also, your members are there in the NUC. And then these new public universities are part of the ones who people are trying to defend now in terms of not having the needed facility to teach students. Why are you not moving to that era, ensuring that this does not happen because it's creating problems, rather than waiting for it to happen before you act? The other one is, why are you on the neck of the federal government? What about the NUC, who approves this university? Is it that they don't check, they don't do the normal accreditation and other things they tell us?
You see, Dele, you are talking as if you are not in Nigeria. Something is an organ of government. NUC is an organ of government.
But ruled by your members.
Sorry, no, it's not ruled by our members. You can't say the executive secretary of NUC is a member of ASUU. He's directly working with government. So he has to listen to directive. The NUC executive secretary is under the Minister of Education. The Minister of Education is subservient to the president. And so when the president gives a directive, does the minister have the power to say, oh, sorry, I cannot carry it out? He will pass down the instruction.
But at the time your members are starting those universities,
it is not our members.
You all know many of these universities. Say no. For instance, let's look at the Niger Delta University or the 6 zonal universities. I mean, they didn't come to bring civil servants to run it to start it. Those who are there.
You see, we need to understand the process involved in establishing university. What you need to do in the first instance, where our people will come in, is to do what we call you do the ground plan, you do the strategic plan, you do the curriculum, you put it together and say, look, if you want to have a good university, this is what is required. Now, in going forward, somebody must say, okay, I'm ready to fund it. But what government does is that they just take it up like that and then say, for example, there must be take-off grant for a new university. What government does is that for example, at my own university now, when it was established, there was no take-off grant. So
that's the issue of pressure, and no university will take up without a VC.
Yes.
No university will
it's
take
an appointment. Without,
and then that's what I say. Why don't you right from day one say, sorry, sir, no, this thing cannot fly. It's like wanting to fly an aeroplane without a twin engine.
You are not getting the issue. The issue is this: when you want to start a university, there are things that must be on ground. And don't forget.
I know, but those things are not on ground.
No,
it's like I'm giving you a car to drive.
No, you are not getting it. The first vice chancellor that will man a new university is usually by appointment by government. So he gets an appointment. Oh, this is a new university. This is the plan for the university. Go and work on it. And then he will take it, open that, and they will say, okay, this is what we require. The first thing they do is that they will start paying salary. And then they will say, go and get students. And most of our people, because we must also say these ones, there are some of us who are not ASUU inclined. All they need to look for is appointment. Once they get the appointment, they will promise government and say, don't worry, we will do it.
I can run it.
We will run it. And then they will do all kinds of things to ensure that they are keeping to their own promise. And that is why sometimes government will think that the university can run on its own. And that is why you see some people running public university as a business, having tuition fee as high as 100,000 and above. It's because they promise their visitors that, look, we can do it. And you go there and look at the quality. You see where the students sit. You see the quality of things that the student gets. You see the quality of the environment of a university. You go to
is it that there's nothing ASUU can do to check this? From day one, that's still my point.
ASUU does not make law. We can only pressurize.
But when the school eventually has problems, then it now becomes an issue for ASUU.
Let's get it straight. When a university is established, it's not under ASUU, it's not part of ASUU as a union. It is as they are developing and they are having problems. That is when they think that they need a union that can also speak for them. Because if you don't have a union in an organization, there's only what you can do as an individual. And that is when they come and join ASUU. ASUU is already battling with existing ones. We are making noise about the proliferation of universities, especially in states. Some states have 4 universities. Some states have 3 universities. Some states are even looking forward to creating all kinds of. They are making the constant proposals.
Sorry, Chair, let me just ask you. That's interesting. You are making noise. What kind of noise? What has he achieved? The proliferation, like I said, between 2009 and now, you and I know the number of public universities as a man. When you say you are making noise, what does that mean? What have you achieved from the noise?
When you show intention of wanting to create or establish another university, we will point your attention to the existing ones. That look, the existing ones, you are not funding them properly. And if you establish another one, you are going to add to the burden of funding. So rather than establish another university, our advice would be that fund the ones that are existing properly. Don't create problems for the state, don't create problems for the nation by establishing half-baked university. What else do you want ASUU to do? ASUU does not make law. We are not lawmakers. ASUU does not generate money to fund universities. It is government that funds universities. So That is, we make noise, we do critical analysis of the situation, we write letters, we even seek for meetings. Some of these visitors will not meet you because they know what you are coming to tell them. Like I know a governor that we never have a meeting with ASUU because he believes that you don't have
Okay.
business with it.
Okay, you mentioned 880 billion naira. That's what you expect from the government. And then let's juxtapose it with the statement made by Obi Ezekwesili that this is unrealistic. The demands by ASUU is unrealistic. Are you looking at it in that direction? 880 billion naira. How realistic is this?
How much did they buy all the vehicles they bought for National Assembly? So answer me now, is it unrealistic?
Well, this is ASUU. That's not
And you said
That is exactly what I'm
that's
saying.
something
It's
that already has
priority.
a budget.
It's a priority. This one was supposed to be budgeted for also since 2009. That has been the promise. We put it in budget. We put it in budget. It's priority.
You see, that's another way
Why
of if they say that the first
why
budget
are
year.
Nigerians not talking about priority? Why do they spend so much money on politics? And then what will better the life of Nigerians? People are not talking about it. It's unfortunate that Nigerians are also not talking about things that pertains to them. You allow them to do all kinds of things and things that you are going to benefit from.
But
You are not talking about
let me
it.
tell you, the lecturers are well paid.
We are not well paid.
Because I don't understand these agitations. The lecturers are part of those that are well paid in Nigeria.
Look, let me tell you.
At least the class of Nigerians
Look, the
well.
work of an academic is a special job.
No, we know. We are not doubting that. We are not saying you don't deserve that pay. But what I'm saying is,
when you are going for international workshop, they don't say this one is a Nigerian. You should pay less because the salary is not as much. And we are talking about world class university. Universities are universal. And when you want to make comparison, we don't compare Nigerian university, we compare universities elsewhere, outside Nigeria. So what we are saying is that even if you cannot give us, but let the condition of service be such that somebody will be happy to come from South Africa and work in Nigeria. Somebody will be happy to come from Kenya and work in Nigeria. Somebody will be happy to come from even US and work in Nigeria. That is what we are saying. And if you continue with this kind of condition, you remember that when some of us are still very young, there are expatriates in Nigerian universities. We have Indians teaching us, we have Ghanaians teaching us, we have people from Europe teaching us. But when the condition got worse, they have to return. And don't forget that when Nigerians leave Nigerian shore, they go to university outside there, they are well paid, they have good environment for their research. Most of these things that are novel, they are done by expatriates in those countries. South Africa here, I have a PhD student who is on postdoc. I know the quantum of research fund that he has had within 2 years, despite the fact that he's not even a resident there. I have one superior, my boss, who taught me, who went to South Africa. So within 1 year, I know the quantum of research grant he had to work in South Africa. They have what we call National Research Fund. That is the proof from where they and then South Africa is developing at a rate that you can only imagine compared to Nigeria that is static. Those are the issues.
Okay, let's also look at the shortfall in salaries. The Education Minister, Adamu, he gave it that the university authorities actually recruit staff without due process. Is this true or false?
Well, it may be possible that some universities recruit staff without due process. But you see, the guideline given to these people also enables them to do this. For example, they will say, one, promote, give us the implication, we'll give you the money. They will say, okay, recruit, but bring it to us, let us approve. And then the universities will take it there, they will approve, but it will not be captured. But that is not to say that there are not some few universities who actually appoint people without getting the final approval. But what we are saying, even at that, if you have problem with the quantum of requests from universities in respect to salary, all you needed to come and do is do staff audit. Come down and then look at the staff listing and see those ones that are with you, and then those ones that are not in your own database, you ask questions. On the basis of that, you can then say, oh, this is what we are going to give you, we are not going to give you. But that one was not done. Somebody just sat in Abuja and said that these universities are requesting for too much money, and so let us cut it by 6%. They did 6% throughout. Is that meaningful?
All
Does that make
right.
sense?
Yes, Daybreak Show Rock City 101.9 FM, about 12 minutes to the hour of 10. That means we have less than 12 minutes to do this. We are looking at the ongoing ASUU strike, and we have one of the zonal coordinators, Professor Sowande, here with us. Professor Sowande, let me ask that same question from another form. Do you think our university overhead is over bloated?
Well, that question may be a little bit difficult for me to answer. The reason is that I'm not in the bursary, I'm an academic staff. I don't know the wages that are taken to
No, some of
Abuja.
your members are members of council.
You see, some of these insinuations that you just want to, budgets are done and brought to council. Council does not look at, oh, what is the number of staff does not come to council. What comes is that, oh, for this unit, what we have is this number, and this is the budgetary requirement. And that is what council approves. So eventually when you are making requests to Abuja, council will not be there. You wouldn't know whether what council approved is what is going to Abuja. So those are the issues. These things has to be verified. You don't have to sit somewhere and begin to make claims and begin to make assumptions and then begin to say, oh, this thing is over bloated or not. You must verify it.
Okay, right. Same question in
Yes.
another form again. Our university system um, running more than their legs in terms of what they lay their hands on, and then their finances, their budget and expenditure. Do you think they are spending bigger than their means?
Well, I don't really understand what you are saying.
We see
But
you will see university VCs in fleet of cars. We have stories of university VCs living as executive CEOs, and some people want to live like the politicians we are complaining about. Um, some we know we've been told to live on rented apartment for up to 4 years, some in hotels for about the first 2 years, and then maintaining large fleet of personal aids.
you see, these are issues that you have to be specific about. For example,
No, it is a general strike.
no,
That's why I don't want to mention it, but since
you
it's a
see,
general
that
strike.
is why you do in academics you don't generalize. You have to be specific. For example, let me give you an example. You have a new university, you appoint a vice chancellor. That university is starting on the mini campus. There is no VC lodge. So where do you want that VC to stay? He must stay somewhere. And if the most convenient place
It's a five star.
is the hotel, I'm not saying 5 star, is a hotel. For that period where there is no, when there is no VC lodge, he can manage there. But that is not to say that he will live big. You get what I'm saying now? But if you have an established university and there is a vice chancellor's lodge and the VC decide to be staying in a hotel, even if it's not 5 star hotel, that kind of VC should be sanctioned because it's a waste of resources. So you don't generalize, you pick specifics, and then we can iron it out. And that is what I expect government to be doing. You have list of all these universities, you have reports from all these universities. If there are problems in particular universities, you go there, verify the issue, and sanction if need be. Don't generalize.
Okay, again, I don't want to specific. Many of my listeners and you, remember, will know some of this university. Now, President, where are we now as of today about the strike?
We are
Is
still
there
on
any
strike.
hope? Yeah, I know that. So, is there any hope? Are we talking? Is the Falcon listening to the Falconer, or things have just refused to stay in one beat?
Well,
So, what is the
let me
position?
say that there has been meetings, there has been discussion, there has been offer, there is consultation. All these ones are going on. So I think that is the stage we are. But the bottom line is that the strike is still on, and you know that if the strike is going to be called off, it is the president after next meeting that will announce it. So if you have not heard from the union, the strike is still on. But I know there are meetings, there are consultations ongoing. We are
Okay.
just hoping that those consultations and those meetings will yield very good results, so much so that before too long, we will be thinking of maybe there will be a way out.
Okay, quickly, let me ask this before we go on a break because I happen to be a victim. You find out that because of this ASU strike, so many courses that should be done in 4 years, 5 years, it will take 7, 10 years to end it. I am a victim. When I went to the university, I was held in that web. So all I'm going to ask you now is ASU being fair with their strike? Because you find out that when we go on strike, so many things are crippled. The students become vulnerable. Even parents, they can't even feed their children. And then so many of the students, they engage in all sorts, even prostitution and what have you. And then the same ASU strike years back, if we remember that a member was traveling for a meeting and that member died in a fatal accident. He couldn't go for that meeting. So why strike all the time?
Well,
Is ASU being fair?
let me say that I was also a victim. I was supposed to graduate in 1992. I graduated in 1993.
That's just a year.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you that look, you won't understand except you are in the system. You will not understand. Now I understand the reason why ASU was on strike then. And so I'm not regretting that I spent extra year before graduating. You see, ASU is fair because the fight is not about ASU members alone. The fight is about the survival of the Nigerian university system. You know, sometimes when we want to be sarcastic, we say, okay, if this is your position, maybe what ASU should do is also to keep quiet and let the rot continue until the extent that public universities will exist no more. But don't forget that those of us in academics, we are international in nature. I can get job in Ghana. I can get job anywhere in the world by virtue of my qualification. Some who could not persist, some who could not persevere have left the shore of Nigeria. But for some of us who are still staying, we are staying because we love this country. We are also considering the children of the poor. Like I said in one of my interview, I said even in universities where they pay 25,000 naira, 30,000 naira, these are things that we know some students and their parents cannot pay. Imagine if public university does not exist again. How many parents will be able to pay 500,000 naira, 800,000 naira or 1 million naira to go to university? And that is the public good that ASU is doing. Many people do not understand. What parents think is that, oh, my child is in school, the duration is 4 years, let the child go 4 years and come back. We talk about what is the quality of that 4 years. Is it just the certificate? If somebody has BSc in medicine, has a degree in medicine and could not really practice medicine, what is the usefulness of being a medical doctor? The after effect is that we take our children or even ourselves, we go to hospital and it is that medical doctor that is going to kill us. That is why NMA will do all within its capacity to make sure that any medical doctor they are churning out is somebody that can be vouched for. Then you should think of even the industries are saying that our students are not appointable. So when you think in the light of that, you understand that what ASU is saying is that look, by the constitution of Nigeria, education is supposed to be free up to university level. If you read section 8:13 of Nigerian constitution, that is, so government should give us qualitative education, and that is the only way we can advance. But comparatively, government would prefer to spend so much money on politics and then will not prioritize education. So ASU it has really been fair. Otherwise, maybe it's just because of the blood that runs in us. We could have said, oh, don't let us make mess again. Even if it means even if it means that students will be sitting on in university, students will be sitting on ground, no problem. Maybe I will just stand in front and talk and go.
Are you saying government is doing this deliberately?
I think it's intentional.
Why would they?
Because government is tending towards privatization and commercialization of education. A few days ago, I read in the newspaper that there are over 200 private universities that are waiting for
approval. 240.
And some of the state government that are establishing university now, they are tending towards public-private partnership. So what do you think that is? It is deliberate.
Okay, that will be it on this very segment on Citizens Forum on the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM. But before we go for this break for the national news at 10, begin to send in your messages via the short code 32120. First you type rock, then you leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send it to 32120. And the Twitter handle, just go there, tweet at us at Rock City FM. We'll be back on the other side of 10 after the national news. Stay with us.
You know that you are still there listening to the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM, the voice of the people, broadcasting from Ashiro in Abeokuta. This morning, Citizens Forum looking at the ASUU strike. It continues, we've been told by our guest who is in it. Professor Siji Sowande is the zonal coordinator of ASUU. Of course, we talk about a whole lot of things from the government position, from ASUU position, implications, where we are coming from, and where we are today. We'll soon turn over the microphone to your side to get feelers, questions, comments on the issue being discussed. But before then, one question, Professor Sowande. It appears you said ASUU, your union, is fighting for an improved education system in the country. One, your sector is the last anchor of the education tier. The primary, the secondary is there. And today it appears that it's only your sector that is fighting this. You appear to be clapping with one finger. And that is why some people feel strike can never give us the result. What do you think?
Well, the truth of the matter is that it has to do with our commitment and our conviction. Maybe that is the reason why you see ASUU being the only organization in the education sector making so much noise. But I think if other sectors or at the other level, if the staff unions are also committed, are convinced that education should be the right of all Nigerians, they will also be able to take up the challenge. But before I just continue, let me quickly correct the let me retract myself. The section of the Constitution I quoted the other time is actually section 18, subsection 3. That is where it is clearly stated that education should be free and compulsory at the primary level, and at the tertiary level also it should be free. So if you all knows this, we all know this component of the constitution, and we really believe in it, and we want our government to be committed and be faithful to the constitution that they swore to, all of us must take up the challenge and speak out as to the reason why education should be prioritized, because it's the basis of the development for the country. And if you neglect education, definitely we are neglecting the very important aspect of Nigerian system that will bring about the right development that we're actually yearning for.
Okay, don't you think ASU needs to review these agreements from time to time so that it will be realizable?
Well, I think if you are conversant with the agreement, there is provision for its renegotiation. And like I said the other time, when you agree with somebody and you get to a point where you cannot implement, don't wait for that other party to agitate before you call and say, sorry, this aspect we cannot really implement it. Can we look for a way around it? Once it's a collective agreement, there won't be any problem. And I think that is the only way we can avoid strike. When government is proactive, when ASUU is proactive, ASUU will say this is what we think will make university system to be good. Government will also, in the light of existing or available resources, say, look, this is what we can do for now, but we are committed to maybe in the next 2-3 years we will do this. And if there is continuous talk, nobody will have reasons to go for strike. But in all the agreements, there's always a component of it that say by so time this thing will be negotiated.
Okay,
All right.
we'll open the studio lines 0809-868-7344.
Good morning, Prof. in the house.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Nkoma. Prof, you've spoken very well, but I have a big problem. Some contradiction. You are quite aware, you are quite correct to say that both the universities are not properly funded. You know, the defense don't have this and all that. When you want to see fraud in a higher institution, it is when it was to accreditation of courses. These same lecturers, vice chancellors, are the people who go to University A and borrow things they can accredit courses. And at the end of the accreditation, they disappear. So why are you, the National University Commission is populated by intellectual lecturers who now have been appointed there. You don't assume the National one can be the National University Commission. Then you ask that question, how come themselves are not making sure? Look, Dele, when they accredit these courses, the following day, all those instruments disappear. And it's done by lecturers. And they'll come back and say the universities provide primary schools. Why are you performing that fraud? Prof, you know what I'm talking about. Why don't you take, you don't have enough equipment for biochemistry? Government, stop it. You don't have enough equipment. But what do? You go all over, borrowing things, doing all sorts of things to come and get a credit.
Alright, thank you. Your 2 minutes are approaching.
Can I stop?
You are approaching your 2 minutes.
Okay. You drive a car on the road and throw groundnut pills on the road and now say the road is dirty. The road is very dirty. When you are the person making dirty, and the university should stop that fraud.
Thank you. Let's start this call. Hello.
Hello?
Don't worry for
Hello? We have you. Good morning.
32120 for short code messages. In about 5 minutes, we'll get into the messages. Hello.
Good
Yes,
morning.
morning.
Yes, my name is Comrade.
Thank you.
I really enjoy
Good morning.
and educated, your analysis. It's a good one. Yes, I think that it is incontrovertible and, undisputable to say that no nation can rise above of its education. We have a country like North Korea. In 1960, I can, go into the archive and check that, we are at the same pace of underdevelopment. But because of education and vocational training, we were able to be among some of the best, advanced nations in the world. Courtesy of education and vocational training invested, is a
North Korea. Did you say North Korea?
It should be North Korea or
No,
Japan.
it's North Korea. South Korea.
Sorry? South Korea.
South Korea, not North Korea.
Okay, South Korea. Thank you for the correction. Yes. But whether North Korea or South Korea, we are backward when it comes to the issue of education and vocational training. So I believe that it's because of the neglect that has given us these comatose and quagmire we are experiencing in our academic system. Yes, I could remember vividly President Buhari came to Abeokuta to campaign during his last electionary campaign. He said he's going to invest massively on education and is going to ensure that our Nigerian university becomes the signature of all eyes, to the extent that people from the diaspora will be coming to Nigeria to, attend our university. So I want Mr. President to please make good his promise, because I want him. And our guest in the house, Chienye raised an important issue. He said that the university lecturers are well paid, but diplomatically, no, they are not well paid. We all know that you people, you are stinkingly rich.
Approaching your 2 minutes, your question, approaching your 2 minutes.
And most of you are sending your children to private universities. So I believe you are well paid, but talking about ASUU challenges.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let's take this call and then we'll move away from the telephone line to allow Professor Sowande to react.
Thank you, Dele. Thank you. Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Chienye. My name is Olusola Johnson. Yes. Prof, I think the problem universities have in Nigeria is because the universities in Nigeria have not brought out anything out of all these years to show Nigerians or the world at large that this is what has been produced through research from a Nigerian university, that with the country will be proud of that. People who emulate us. Nigerian university, I'm not sure, have done it. The only thing you do is mua and not people back to the system. The way the government will generate money and make money, the Nigerian university is not concerned about it. The Nigerian university itself is not generating money, putting money back into the federal fund. All you know is mua, bring. tójú bá ń jẹ tí kò bá ń yó let's leave the rest for God. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
President Anje.
Well, I want to thank all the callers for their comments. Well, let me just respond to Dr. Income in respect of fraud as precipitated by the issue of accreditation. Let me say that what you have said is true. There are some universities where they do what we call window dressing
For accreditation.
for accreditation. That is true. But like I always say that, look, when you have issues, don't generalize. Where you have such situations, point those situations out and then it can be dealt with. But the truth of the matter is that some of them are doing it. I'm not supporting it. Some of them are doing it because once they fail accreditation, it means that your children, even if they are in 500 level, their certificate will not be recognized. So it has after effect on almost everybody.
But that also has after effect when you fake that, because that's why what will turn out becomes and have baked or not baked.
Exactly. So I'm not supporting it. It happens in some universities, but that is not to say that the universities in Nigeria are the standard that we really want them. But so sometimes the accreditation standards sometimes there are things that almost all universities can easily meet. So in few universities you can see some of these things happening. But the problem I have with you is that you generalize it. That's the problem I have. But the truth is that there are some people that do that. Now, somebody, Akin, I want to thank you for your comment. You talk about the wrong timing of the strike. You see, I will not agree with you because if I ask you to tell me what will be the right timing, you will not be able to answer me. We won't have need to go on strike at any point in time if government has been committed to its agreement. But don't forget that, look, I'm not, I'm not, I don't really like to criticize government. But the truth of the matter is that will our president will he have needed to go outside the country for medical treatment if the facilities in Nigeria are okay? And then calculate the quantum of money that will have been spent staying outside Nigeria for more than 3 months and for all the medical facilities, and you are telling me the strike is not timely. The number of cars bought by the members of the National Assembly, do you know the quantum of money involved? And you are saying the timing is wrong. The truth of the matter is that we only consider things on the temporary. We don't look at the long run effect of some of these things. There is no time that will be right for strike. We only go on strike when we think that we are tired and we need to really put some force. So I don't agree with you. They are talking about proscription of ASUU. Don't forget that Nigerian constitution allows for freedom of association. So even if it is proscribed, we'll form another one. So proscription is not a problem to us. And we'll even go to court and fight it because under the ILO convention, Nigeria is a signatory to it. ASUU cannot be proscribed. So those are just the truth that we need to know. Now Mr. Ruko talked about lecturers being well paid. I've done the analogy. If you look at the poverty level in Nigeria, you seem to think that lecturers are actually well paid. But if you are talking about the competitiveness and the world class nature of what university should be, you know that the lecturers in Nigeria are not well paid. Let me give you an example. If I go for assessment of somebody's promotion in Nigeria, I only get 50,000 naira. But for somebody who do it for somebody in South Africa, I will get $1,000. Now compare.
50,000 naira
to $1,000.
Look at the figure: 1,000 and 50,000.
50,000 naira
and 1,000.
Look at the value of
what you buy with the 50,000 here? We are looking at when it is exchanged.
Convert it to naira.
No, that's what we are looking at when it is exchanged.
That is the truth of the matter.
But what that $1,000 will buy there,
why do we
run the 50,000 will buy? 1,000 that may not be able to buy.
I've been outside this country. That $1,000, I can spend it in a month. I cannot spend 50,000 naira in a month in Nigeria. Let's be realistic about this thing. Well, Mr. Olushola Johnson mentioned the fact that there are no products from universities in Nigeria, and that maybe that is why government Let me just give you a very simple example. Do you know the Pando yam that is eating is a product of Nigerian research? But because the industries in Nigeria are not really cooperating, that thing has to be taken outside Nigeria. And then you now have products developed by Nigerian researcher coming out as a product from another country. So the truth of the matter is that there are products that have been developed in Nigeria. Are you talking about ICT? We have very competent programmers. We have those engineers that can fabricate. But the problem is that the relationship between the Nigerian university system and our industries is not really very good. Maybe we need to work on
All right,
that.
can we check
But,
the messages?
Sure, we can. We have a lot of them here. We have this one from Adi. Admitted they failed to fulfill the agreement since 2009. ASUU is justified with the strike. After all, they receive own bogus salaries and allowances on a monthly basis, but can't pay mega allowances due to lecturers and want them to perform as expected. They are not bothered because their children are not in public universities but in private universities abroad. That, though it is painful, ASU should not suspend the strike until their demands are met. Okay, that was sent in by Ade. Then we have this one from Abdul Hakim from Itaiko. ASU's demand is one of the problems inherited from past governments, and in view of the economic situation of this country, their demand is cumbersome and unrealistic. They should start a fresh deal with this government, different from the one they made with the past government. That's from Abdul Hakim. Then you see the government will continue to be lackadaisical about the education sector simply because they know too well that once the strike action commences, the students and the general public will condemn ASU as not being fair. The government also knows they are going to win in the long run due to excess pressure on ASU from the public. Until we Nigerians are ready to stick together and also sacrifice so many things, our leaders will not change. Michael from Kotoko sent in that one. Then this is from Olaolu from Ijon. What is ASU doing since 2008 when the agreement was signed by the last government? If the government sacked all the striking lecturers, what will ASU do to that? Thank you. That's a question from Olaolu. Then Dele, without being in support, the profligacy of some VCs. I remember that General Babangida gave them the status of ministers, except to want to distance that era from now. If a minister can book into a five-star hotel, why not a VC? We need to expand our public universities instead of establishing glorified secondary schools. Kayode from Randa sent in that one. Then ASU should be supported by all in his struggle for better funding of the university. If not for ASU's struggle over the years, the Nigerian university would have been like the present-day public primary and secondary schools. The beneficiaries of the struggle of ASU are all stakeholders in education system and all who can't send their children abroad for university education. Dr. Fawale sent in that message. Then still from Michael from Kotopo. Talking from experience, I know the amount of money I spent on my project during my final year, let alone how much I spent during practicals and lectures, just because the resources are not available due to negligence on the part of the government. On so many occasions, I contributed money to buy fuel to power generators during practicals and lectures, just because the lecturer insisted he wouldn't lecture in the heat. And this is affecting us as a nation. Most companies will prefer to appoint graduates from foreign universities than those from home. I wish ASU won't call off the strike until their demands are met. We have money in this country. Let us spend it on the future of the nation, and it shall be well with us. That's from Michael from Kotobo. Then we have this from Ewa from Songo. ASU strike is going on, yet some institutions are going on with their business as usual. Are they not affected with the reason for the strike? Ewa from Songo is asking that question. Then I commend ASU for their commitment to improvement of our tertiary institutions in the country because their members have opportunities to take up employment outside the country, but they decided to stay back and work for the country. This is patriotism par excellence. It must be a total fight, not in their own interest alone, but in the general interest of the indigent citizens. Government must be made to fund tertiary institutions instead of squandering our scarce resources on irrelevant capital projects, which are conduits of siphoning our collective money. I support the strike. Aluta continua, victory asata. God bless Nigeria. God bless Rock City FM. Alahaji Busura from Kuto, Abeokuta sent in that message. Wale Joseph, good morning, Daily and the other anchor. Please, there is no right time to correct the wrong. thumbs up to ASUU. Then Taiwo Tolulokwe, ASUU should be conscious and sensitive that this government has no clear-cut ideas of what university is or how they are run. Tolulokwe Onokoya, I don't believe the strike is wrongly timed. It was handed over completely to Professor Oshibaju when he was away. Government was continuous. Taiwo Tolulokwe again, if ASU cannot get results during the time of President Umar Yar'Adua, the first graduate to rule Nigeria, I wonder if they can get it right now. Yemi Da Vinci, anyone who attacks ASU members' reported shortfalls is engaging in ad hominem, logical fallacy. Government should implement its own agreement. What percentage of budgets gets given to education, especially when juxtaposed to UNESCO recommendations? We are not a serious nation. The federal government, since Buhari's first time, has been insincere about education and its funding. It's the worst sin against Nigerians. I am totally in support of this ASU strike, and I agree with Professor Shiji's submissions. Then we have this from Professor Agbola AAA. The Nigerian government is not serious about education. Less than 7% of the annual budgetary allocation to education cannot even produce any results. Adekunle Kende, what happens to the recovered stolen money from corrupt individuals? A single recovery is enough to answer ASU's request. God bless you, Professor Shiji. Then we have this from Adiola. ASU struggles to represent the Nigerian masses, and the options are simple: support of the ruling class in the struggle. Then the professor has said it all. Misplace of priority is the government's major problem. I love ASU's no retreat, no surrender stand. Then Tolulokwe Onokoya, according to him, that due process applies only to a fresh strike again, so it does not apply to this one since it's a resumption of strike. Then Elder Abdul Emmanuel, education is key for economic development. Why is our leaders taking it with levity? Because it's not a means to generate money in their pockets. Professor Agbola AAA, can anybody suggest a method which ASU has not adopted before embarking on strikes? We do not have a sincere and listening government. It's too bad. Tolulokwe Onokoya, an ASU official, has said during a program on Rock City FM that the strike is a resumption of the strike suspended in 2013, and so it's not a fresh one. I so agree that ASU is fair. If we really want a good education system, it's natural assembly better than lecturers. No, let them do the needful. Then Lawal Monsuru, how much has ASU paid to... Okay. And then Professor Agbola AAA, our government is never sincere. In any university, the ratio of academic, non-academic should be 70-30. But the reverse is the case, and government knows that. Whenever ASU declare also joins them in declaring war against the government, they take over all media news free of charge.
With this, tomorrow we will have the other relevant stakeholders or concerned stakeholders here. I'm talking about the students, even the parents, the concerned bodies, and of course the Federal Ministry of Education. We will be able to speak with the minister's spokesperson online tomorrow. So for the man who alleges that the media assist ASU, I really don't know the level of understanding of events. Are you saying the event is not happening? Or are you saying a general strike with majority of the Nigerian public universities is insignificant to daily events? Or are you saying we just turn our backs and say it is not happening? Of course, we have not also said the government angle have not been mentioned. So I don't understand what that message is trying to say. That is for the message. For the others, Professor Chowande.
Well, thank you very much, Dele. I also want to thank all those who have sent in their comment through SMS. It is very clear that majority are actually in support of this strike, but I just need to make some few clarification in respect of Olaolu saying that what will happen if government decide to sack all lecturers. Well, I can only say that government should go ahead and then they should go to that Shakmo to look for PhD that will come and lecture in the university. You see, government will not sack lecturers because government also knows that what we are doing is legitimate. And that is the reason why government will wish to talk with us to arrive at a common front. So I don't see government sacking all lecturers. It's even impossible, in my own opinion. Well, yes, there are some universities that are not on strike, very, very few of them, and I think these are well known. If you're talking about University of Ilorin, maybe recently OAU, all those universities are universities where we have crises in our own town. That is the reason why the strike seems not to be ongoing there. And even despite that, we still have the strike going on very smoothly and very fine in majority of Nigerian university.
I understood where you have suspended the examination going on because of the strike.
Well, it's also possible because we are also putting pressure
Yeah, I understand that happened
on that
yesterday that they've
university despite
suspended the exam is on, but they suspended.
because despite the crisis there, we expected that they should still go because they will also be beneficiary of the outcome of the strike. Well, it is true that some of our members are trained abroad, but to say that we don't come out to acknowledge it, I think it's a fallacy. The truth of the matter is that if any one of our lecturer is trained abroad by Third Fund, there's an acknowledgement in our publications. The certificate, a copy of the certificate is also sent to Third Fund. There is a report that goes to Third Fund, so it is actually acknowledged. Maybe the writer of that message is not in the know of the procedure that is involved. But to say generally that look, ASUU and its members do not like strike. For me, it is more work for all the officials of ASUU when we're on strike. So we always think very critically before we embark on it because it's going to involve a lot of resources, a lot of trips, a lot of meetings. It's usually very strenuous for us. We always want to avoid it. And we wish that government will not take us to that extent. And that is why the public should encourage government to always be proactive, that people should not get agitated and you ignore them until the point that they say, oh, we can take it no more and embark on strike. I believe we can avoid strike. And the only way we can avoid strike, in my own thinking, is that, look, if government is committed to the terms and condition of output of collective bargaining, if there is rapid response to staff unions agitation, if government oppose the constitution that they are sworn to, all these ones will engender smooth relationship between staff unions and government. And government should also be proactive. There should be data gathering and there should be strategic planning to progressively increase funding in education. Once this one is done automatically, nobody will want to go on strike. Let me give you an example. In developed countries, nobody agitates for salary increase. It is done automatically based on the prevailing inflation rate. So if government is proactive and they do that, there won't be any problem. But it is very clear that our government does not have people in mind. They are not really people oriented. They are only self-oriented. So the public need to also understand this and not think of the small strata maybe because we are affected negatively. I know the kind of sacrifice I'm making to embark on this strike. But the truth of the matter is that I'm a Nigerian, my colleagues are Nigerians, they are ready to make the sacrifice. Even if we are sacked, we know we'll go to court and we know we will win. So we are not afraid whether ASUU is proscribed, whether we are sacked, but we know that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing for Nigerians and for the masses in Nigeria.
Okay, about 12 minutes to the hour.
Good morning, Chienye. Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to our guests in the studio.
Good morning.
John, I'm coming from Lagos.
Thank you.
100% I am behind ASUU. I was on radio station on Thursday when we discussed this. See, the government itself came out last week that they have not fulfilled their own agreement. So why should people blame ASUU for this strike? If you sign an agreement with ASUU since 2019 today, and you have not fulfilled the agreement, people are blaming ASUU. It is very, very unfortunate. And Yoruba always say something. See, I won't say than that. Thank you.
All right, I think we can just add it's
Okay,
obvious. Okay,
Taiwo
you say as
Tolulope,
well.
ASUU should sympathize with a government that acknowledged its failures by resuming in the interest of Nigerians and not the innocent students. The money care, our government is crippled, ASU is crippled, Nigerian education is crippled. All those people enjoy free education and are making us suffer. The Yemi Da Vinci Prof, why has so many, okay, the same message. That's all.
All right, so obviously, if you look at the time, Professor Twande won't be able to
Address all.
address or just speak some of the salient ones, and
Well,
then we
let me
say
just
goodbye.
respond to just two out of maybe about 4 or 5 questions that have been raised. Now, the issue of TSA exemption, universities are peculiar. There are some monies that comes to the university. For example, if you have research grant from abroad, that money should not go to TSA. If you have endowment, you should not go to TSA. That is why we are saying universities are peculiar. We have peculiar system. It should not be run as if we are running a ministry and parastatals budget. That is why we are asking for exemption.
But Professor, before you move on, two things will come up from this. There will be some people who will say, okay, if you permit that for every institution, every agency to come out with an excuse of being peculiar, or being different, everybody will have one genuine reason to say this is why we must not be part of the TSA, and government can never be run at the whims and caprices of every dictator. And the other one is that the appointment of the vice chancellor itself is not political. Now, why is ASUU not also looking at this? Because these are some of the fundamental issues.
Well, the truth of the matter is that ASU and its members knows the peculiarity of university system, and what we think will not work for university, we have spoken about it, and that's why we are making noise. If anybody thinks, the truth of the matter is that for any other system, are you saying there are no exemptions? There are exemptions. There are exemptions. That's why we're also asking for exemptions. So that is just the truth. But if anybody thinks that this TSA will, impact on the smooth running of their system, they should also voice out. But I think that for majority of parastatals and ministries, it works well for them. But for university, there are some components that will not work if all the monies are in TSA. That is just, and then ASU does not appoint vice chancellor. But what ASU did was to put in
The
motion
vice
a
chancellors
smooth
are appointed
procedure.
from members of ASUU, and
No,
it
they are
is most
appointed by
times
council.
political. They are every vice chancellor is not a member of ASUU.
Not every vice chancellor is a member.
But okay, many of
Even
them.
though they are academic, some of them are not
Okay,
members
but
of
even
ASU.
but the appointment, most times are political.
They are is political.
So why is ASUU not looking at it? Because once you make it political, then they will be subjected to the political dictation.
It's political to the extent that many people will want to get that office. But the procedure is the same.
All right, we are sorry, Professor Andy. We are sorry, everybody. We won't be able to go beyond this point this morning. Again, we will continue tomorrow. We'll have different stakeholders in. There's including the Federal Ministry of Education, the students' body, and of course, parents to also look at their side of the entire saga. An Olympian, people will want to call it. Dele Ayodo is my name. On behalf of all of you, I wish to say thank you once again, President Siji Sowande,
Thank you for the
coming.
opportunity.
And I say, God bless you all. God bless Nigeria. God bless Rock City.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu. Let's drop all agitations and make amends. Good morning.